Given the infectiousness of memes naturally, and us living now in a world of WhatsApp and Instagram and Google, are you concerned by how much more virulent memes are going to become, and the fact that people seem to have a very unquestioning attitude to what they read in these platforms and receive?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Again, in the book I cover a little bit about the Kardashev scale. Nikolai Kardashev was a 1960s Soviet astrophysicist, I believe, and he really looked at what might we find out there in terms of Star Wars, what might we find out there in terms of really advanced civilizations, and where will civilization go, our civilization go. And he put together a 3-point scale, and human beings right now, 2014, we don't rate on the scale at all. We're burning our ancestors because we think it's a really cool trick, in the form of coal and oil, and to propel ourselves. And one of the points, the road markers along the route towards becoming a Type 1 civilization, will be that we will have a massive communication. He predicted this in the 1950s or 60s. We'll have a massive communication network. That's called the internet. He didn't specifically see the internet. We will tend towards one language. We'll tend towards one currency. We'll tend towards one government. And that trend's been going on since we were tens of thousands of clans, and then thousands and thousands of tribes, and then thousands of kingdoms and hundreds of countries and dozens of smaller blocks. Now we've got the EU. It's inconceivable today that Europe would go to war with itself, and it was 2 generations ago, or a generation ago, it was at war with itself. So there is this tendency towards homogeneity, and that's really, I think, you hit sort of a key point there, because social media, the internet, school curricula, television are making the kids, generation of kids, more like one another around the world than they are like their parents. And that's really the gist of the book. I think the great fear in Carnarvon that they're bringing in this internet in one go, and that they're bringing scientists into the school who are going to be talking to the kids, and there's this terror from the older generation that they're taking our kids away from us. Well, they're not taking them away. That's just the natural progress of the world, that the kids are becoming, as I say, more homogenous. Kids from Tokyo to Carnarvon to a little town in Bolivia to New York City are in contact with one another, and they're less. You're not friends with the guy across the street because he's across the street. You're friends with the person across the globe because you've got common interests. And so there's always a trade-off, and so the trade-off with memetics and with our communication capacity like this is, I mean, look what's happening in terms of organisations around the world that are trying to mobilise people to their ends in a negative way. I mean, the one that leaps at one is terrorism. They can infect the minds of people living in London, living a rather nice, comfortable life, and convince them that no, we ought to go back to fight to ride donkeys and shun all of this nice stuff.
Yeah, which brings me to the question: what's your theory on why it is that in an age of the greatest discoveries about ourselves, about the planets, about our world, why at times like these do we appear to be retreating into religious fundamentalism more and more?
Kardashev actually predicted it, and I cover it briefly in the book. It's just human.
Is it fear?
Well, it's fear, and it's not just the individual fear. That's why I'm fascinated by the study of memetics, because memes are almost like genes, that they almost have a life of their own. They fight for their own survival, and a good meme will actually have uninstall, almost like an app in a computer, will have uninstall features that the moment it notices it's being challenged, it will go on the offensive. And that's why you'll find a lot of, and again, it's really a great point you bring up, because again, the story is really about this older generation, and they, if you think of them not as individual thinking humans, but as this meme that's threaded through them, the meme recognizes that there's an end point coming, because the kids are so fundamentally different to them, and it's fighting back and so there's sort of this uninstall aspect to it. You will find generally people who are dogmatic about anything, any topic you like. If you challenge them on it, they will become very aggressive. You could.
And defensive.
I happen to not drink at all, really, and you could accuse me of being an alcoholic, and I'd laugh at you. But if I thought, if there was a hint in my mind that I might be an alcoholic, and you said to me, "I think you're an alcoholic," I'd probably become quite angry, because it's sort of that little meme. It's that fights back. The alcoholic part wants to stay. It doesn't want to be thrown out.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to be found out.
But it is, from my point of view, it is so ludicrous that we find ideas threatening, and that's essentially what fundamentalism is all about.
But ideas define us, and
yeah. But just before I have a gin and tonic and you have a glass of water, let's end where you begin. Your dedication. This book explores the drama humans create for themselves. Now that's I think that's where it's at for me. It is self-created. We just cannot pay attention enough to our lives, to our thoughts, to what we read, etc., in order to avoid that kind of...
As a culture, we do things that are, and as individuals, we do things that are urgent. We do things that are important. I've been in the security industry too a long time, and it just can't happen to me, until it does, and then it's panic stations, and so it's that. People create. There's just so much drama that we create that we just needn't. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy on the individual level, tragedy on the cultural level.
I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.